Trump buys asylum agreement with El Salvador to deport migrants there. The Trump administration is developing an asylum agreement with El Salvador's government that would allow the U.S. to deport migrants to the Central American country who are not from there. Oh, sorry, we rolled the dice. Random Latin American immigrants. You're getting, rolls dice. You're getting El Salvador. Oof. Getting a damn penal colony up in here. Thank you, Nuts. Look in their prison system. Do you watch my stream? We know about their prison system. The plan, if finalized, would revive an agreement the first Trump administration brokered with El Salvador's government, though that accord was never implemented and was eventually terminated by Joe Biden's administration. A safe third country agreement could be a significant breakthrough for the Trump administration's aggressive immigration plans, allowing it to deport migrants from different countries, including Venezuela, that limit or outright reject U.S. deportation of their citizens. You know what? You know what I think? You know what I think? I think it's great. Okay? El Salvador is going to become a multicultural haven. That's what I think, all right? It's a very small country. We're sending all these people over there. We're going to create Brazil too. That's Colombia. We can have lots of Brazils. Hasn't El Salvador's crime dropped significantly since the crackdowns? Yes. Look, okay, this is like the one. El Salvador was in such a bad position that a police state was preferable to how it was before. Like that's all. That's like that. It's just one of those things people banty about, where it's like, well, did you know the prisons are inhumane and a lot of people got arrested without trial and a lot of those people are innocent? Yes, but things were so bad in El Salvador that this is better than how it was before. Are things good now? No. Bukele is a fascist, and he acts like it, and a lot of innocent people get hurt. It's just things were so bad before. Isn't it kind of questionable? Like there's evidence of corrupt dealings between the government and gangs? Well, yeah, of course. How else do you deal with gangs? Non-corruptly? Bukele is a crypto bro? Yeah, all fascists are. They love that shit. The White House said Mr. Trump and Bukele spoke on the phone on Thursday and discussed working together to stop illegal immigration and crack down on transnational gangs like Tren de Aragua. That's great, man. Talking to El Salvador. Jesus. Marco Rubio is scheduled to visit in early February. Incredible. Spoke with Bukele, but not Trudeau. Yeah. Well, let's see how they're doing on that front. How are we doing on the mass deportation front? Oops. Trump administration has already released some immigrants back into the U.S. after touting aggressive crackdown. Oh, turns out it's not so easy to engage in the world's largest mass deportation in all of human history, basically. Turns out it's pretty difficult, actually. We're doing catch and release shit. What if we had sound with our video? I don't like the sound. I wanted sound, but what did I get? Oh, this is the same fucking cringe. Listen, they're literally attributing the footage to the DOD. This is this one clip you've seen a million times. I can tell. You know why I can tell? You're going to make fun of me. I recognize the pants and jackets on these motherfuckers, okay? The one goddamn shot of them loading up in the plane, this is from like 2 weeks ago. It's propaganda from the DOD. Some of the 8,000 migrants arrested under the Trump administration deportation crackdown have already been released back into the United States, according to a report. That's so funny. I'm going to become one of those liberals who's like, Trump hasn't even arrested as many brown people as Biden did. Hashtag losing. About 8,000 people since Trump took office. Now an NBC News report details how some have already been released back into the U.S. with federal court systems to blame. Thank you, independent.co.uk, for the fascist propaganda. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. With federal court systems to blame, I think what you meant to say was the rule of law, due process. Sorry, your Hitler plan got interrupted by a little thing called the court system. An ICE spokesperson said the federal court cases limit how long ICE can hold people indefinitely if their countries refuse to take them back. Oh, what an insane overreach of the bureaucratic power of federal courts. You're not allowed to indefinitely hold people forever? You can't just put people in a hole in the ground forever and ever and ever? Oh, man. These damn federal courts, you know, who are to blame for Trump not getting to deport more people. The agency's federal law enforcement officers do everything they can to keep our communities safe, the spokesperson told the outlet. In some cases, ICE is required to release certain arrested aliens from custody. The agency has not released data on how many of the arrests under Trump remain in custody or have been deported. I love that transparency. Like, they're acknowledging they have to turn people over, but they're like, they're not even saying how many they have to turn back. Remarkable. They will trebuchet them over the wall. It's cheaper. It's pretty funny, though. I can't believe federal courts won't let me send people to the oubliette. Yeah, no kidding. It's difficult, as it turns out, these mass deportations, you know? Because ICE is a federal agency, you're basically working entirely through the federal system. There are only so many federal like the apparatus through which you have to move, you know, there's just a limit. There's a limit to the flow of the pipe, you know? You have a throughput limit. How expensive is it per plane? Every time the Department of Defense flies a plane for any reason, they have to give Lockheed $1 billion. Cost of labor, several $1,000s. Cost of fuel, tens of thousands of dollars. Cost of maintenance, tens of thousands of dollars. Cost of the fealty, the tithe that we pay private corporations for the privilege of getting to use U.S. DoD-owned vehicles being piloted by Department of Defense officials and employees, billions. I work in MIC as an engineer for Raytheon. It's incredibly expensive. That's great. Your name should be yellow. Engineer for Raytheon. You have a lot of fucking reparations to get through, okay? Always on that grind. Ken Klippenstein would be proud. DoD engineers are not the one making the money. Well, no, of course not. Contractors are. But they said Raytheon. That's not the DoD. Trump signs an executive order to start the process of creating an American sovereign wealth fund. Great. We're Saudis now. We Saudis now. This is a great thing to do when we're like 50 billion. Sorry, I said 50 billion. Normally I just default to the billions when I want to use a big number. $50 quadrillion in debt. There we go. What's a sovereign wealth fund? It's something that you give kings to dick around with. You know, like let them build big buildings and stuff.
Thank you, sir. Next, this is an executive order. Discharges your Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, and your Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, to begin a process that will hopefully result in the creation of an American sovereign wealth fund.
The point of this is just to kick more money to corporations.
It's a very exciting event. We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, which we've never had. We have a lot of things that create wealth, and you're seeing that over the last 2 weeks. I think we've created more wealth. Other people have created de-wealth, the people, my predecessors. We're creating a lot of wealth. Scott, maybe you'd like to say something about it, and I'd ask also Howard to say something about it.
Yes, sir. This is very exciting. We're going to stand this thing up within the next 12 months. We're going to monetize the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet for the American people. We're going...
Thank you, sir.
No, that's it. We're just cutting that off midway. Yeah, this is just another way of pulling money into a big fund that he can use to say, like, with this glorious sovereign wealth fund that I have been pouring money from your taxes into, we now have the ability to pursue unique, innovative projects, like me investing $1 trillion into, I don't know, AI or some bullshit. Like, it's creating, like, a presidential pocketbook, you know? Isn't this straight up a way to bypass Congress's power of the purse? Congress doesn't have that anymore. Have you heard about what happened to USAID and the Department of Treasury? Congress basically doesn't exist anymore. Like unitary executive theory happened. They did it with no time and no pushback. It happened immediately. Congress basically just exists now to, like, facilitate, you know, legislative bureaucracy. We are so defaulting on our debt. Oh, man. When the signs of that start coming up, when you hear, oh, man, when Donald Trump starts signing these EOs going, and the debt, they say no one could get rid of the debt. There is something we could do to get rid of the debt. I could get rid of the debt overnight or something. That's when you short everything. This is not financial advice. That's the pull your money out, buy gold, bury the gold, buy the ammunition, fucking wall up your windows. That's the big funny. That's the big funny. When he defaults on debt, we default on all of our student loans. If he defaulted on the debt, the student loans wouldn't matter that much, okay? A lot of things that you were anxious about before would stop mattering, and a lot of new things you weren't worried about would suddenly become very important. Is Mexico accepting asylum seekers? Well, for one, yeah. For two, you can just move there. For three, the U.S. defaulting on its debt would collapse the global economy, not just America's. And for four, this hasn't happened yet. I'm talking about, I'm ignorant what would happen. If the U.S. defaulted on its debt, The global economy, it would be worse than the Great Depression. The Great Depression would be, it would have an effect on the world comparable to an exchange of nuclear fire between the Soviet Union and the United States. In fact, it's possible that that would actually be less destructive in the human life sense. Anyway, Sovereign Wealth Fund. Details on how exactly the fund would operate and be financed were not immediately available. Oh, I bet. We're going to create a Sovereign Wealth Fund. Okay, how will you pay for it? Next question. What will you spend it on? Next question. Trump previously said it could be funded by tariffs and other intelligent things. Typically, such funds rely on a country's budget surplus to make investments, but the U.S. operates at a deficit. Okay, they're going to use it to buy TikTok. No, they're not. That's not happening. They're too busy asking Bernie about paying for Medicare for all. It really is like a great reminder that everyone who asked him how he would pay for it, what they were really saying was like, fuck you, old man, it's not happening. No matter what. Like, you will never, ever... Like, the problem has never been, does the U.S. government have the money for it? It does. It always will. That was obviously not what they were saying. Here's a chart of U.S. debt holders. Well, it's mostly domestic debt. The foreign debt hasn't increased very much over the past decade, which is probably good if we ever defaulted on it, which hopefully we don't, because that'd be pretty bad. Monetize the asset side of the country's balance sheet. It sounds like they're talking about liquidating the country's asset. They're not talking about anything because it doesn't mean anything. Monetize the asset side of the country's balance sheet. That means that, what if we paid for the sovereign wealth fund by using the money from the money we get? Thanks, man. Like, that's what that means. Yeah, is it possible to have a negative sovereign wealth fund? What if instead of accumulating wealth in it, he accumulates the debt and then he just closes the sovereign wealth fund? It's kind of like the monetary equivalent of Jesus Christ sacrificing himself to redeem all of mankind for its sins. What if we printed a single $30 trillion bill? Just one, and then handed it off. 53% of Americans predict the U.S. economy growing in the next 6 months. Well, yeah, Americans are stupid. Americans have always believed that Republicans are better on the economy for a wide variety of complicated and usually pretty stupid reasons. But if by growing you mean the stock market going up, like, I don't know, maybe. Like, the stock market's been going up constantly for as long as you've been alive, with only very, very small short-term dips. Do you feel economically secure? How do I invest in the Chinese stock market? You got to invest in real estate over there. I hear it's bopping right now. Don't actually do that. It's not bopping right now. Oh, yeah, I know. We're going to do the damn Treasury thing. U.S. to again withdraw from the UN Human Rights Council. Isn't this better than us being there while being really evil? Like, people are saying, oh, this is really bad. Isn't it better that America not be on the Human Rights Council? I don't know. I feel like we kind of shouldn't be there at all, you know? The actions come one day before Trump is set to meet Benjamin Netanyahu in Washington. That seems apropos. That seems fair. Sovereign Wealth Fund is privatization of public assets project. That's crazy. Why'd you have to repeat that like 5 times? I read it every time you said it. Why'd you keep repeating it? You think all caps is going to get my attention? Well, it worked. Are you happy now? What did Biden do while he was on the UN Human Rights Council? Like, meaningfully, what we're talking about here is Gaza, right? And everything that's happened is leading up to this anyway. Biden's dead, so who cares? That's probably true. Haven't heard a damn word from him.